Welcome back, everyone, to our quick overview study guide of the book of John. We're in chapter 7. Here, Jesus is trying to be coerced to go up to the feast, and he says he's not going to. Pretty straightforward here. Jesus does end up going, but in disguise. But I wanted to bring your attention to the point where he shows up and reveals himself and starts to preach, if you will, again. And some very important things that I wanted to point out here in this chapter is they're saying, how does this guy know so much? And of course, in Luke, we hear about a very young Jesus that was actively being looked for by his parents, but he was in the temple and he was asking questions and things of this nature. And I also think about the people that were around him, and maybe some of those people are some of these people now trying to persecute him and kill him. I don't even know if they knew that it was the same person or not. But here we have another story being identified, Jesus having all this knowledge. And the knowledge that he has is likened it to the knowledge that a disciple has. God can give you the answers to the questions you ask. If you want it, he'll give it to you. He gave it to me, and all I had to do was pray and ask. Now, where it comes from could come from anyone. So this type of material doesn't necessarily come from your preacher, but it can. It could come from someone who's not even a Christian, if you will. The information's out there, but what parts of it is directing you towards what God is saying? And for some reason that I can't explain, it becomes abundantly clear that is what God is telling you. He's answering you. But you have to listen. And the same is true. I guess this is bearing witness to what I'm saying, where Jesus happens to know all these things, but he's not educated. Jesus was probably illiterate. Most people would agree that that's true. You are literate for the most part. You've been trained anyway. You've been schooled. But here Jesus is saying, my teaching is not mine, but his who sent me. In verse 16, and if anyone is willing to do his will, and I want to point this part out, he will know of the teachings, whether it is of God or whether I speak from myself. He who speaks for himself seeks his own glory, but he who is seeking the glory of the one who sent him, he is true, and there is no unrighteousness in him. Now, of course, Jesus is talking about himself, but what I'm getting at in this lesson is you have the same opportunity to learn what is being told to you, what is trying to be conveyed to you in these Gospels, in these epistles, in the New Testament. And it is confusing. It really is. But if you have faith and you ask, it will be answered. You may be like me, who doesn't even have a high school diploma. I understand it because I asked. It was given to me. It's not something that you learn in a school. It's not something you learn at a church. But at the same time, it could be. But then again, it's not. Bits and pieces of information become the answers. If you are under the tutelage of God, you have a relationship with him, you talk to him, you ask, and you will receive. And this is bearing witness to that. And here he's saying, Moses gave you the law, but you don't follow it. He did one deed earlier. He made some bread and fish appear, and they all marveled. But then here he's saying, I'm being honest with you. I'm telling you the truth. And you don't believe me. And I myself know what this feels like. I have this channel. I say things. Nobody cares. I pay people to find out what these words really mean, and I present them to other people, academics, not just some preacher somewhere, but actual university professors. And they don't see it either. Of course, they never say that I'm wrong, which is very strange. But then again, it's not. They've never said I'm wrong. They just don't see it that way. And I hear that time and time and time again. Because I'm trying to get them to disprove what I'm understanding. And they can't. They don't even try. They just say, well, I don't see it that way. I see it this way. But then I ask questions of them, and they can't answer it. It's very strange. And it's you're very isolated. And no one rejects me. No one really calls me up and says, you're a kook. Every once in a while, someone will say, well, I don't agree with you. But if you ask them questions based on what it's saying, they can't answer it. All they can give you is something they learned from a book or heard at church, which doesn't really relate to this. And that's the whole point of this and these exercises, is to show you what it's saying and what that means. Because people they don't really know what's in here. They see something, they see a verse, oh, that's this. They associate it with something. They're not actually reading it. If you look at sources, teachers of Greek, doesn't matter who it is, someone who actually knows the language, they don't consult with them. They don't want to talk with them. Even people that are widely popular in the world of Christianity, they don't ever consult Greek. You don't see Joel Osteen or John MacArthur, who's dead now, consult the Greek. They just don't do that. If it's in their benefit, if it suits them, then they'll bring it up for their own selfish purposes. But nobody looks at what it actually says. They don't want to hear it. But that's where it is. That is what a disciple of Christ stands for, to understand what's being said to them. And you don't have to learn Greek to understand or read what it's really saying. It's here. But God has to reveal it to you. And you can only get that through Him, through your relationship. It's direct. And that's what's being said here with the teachings that Jesus is talking about. You can understand as well. No one's going to believe you. You're not going to have any special or magic powers, but you'll know. And that's what's important. Knowing what is required of you. And really, if I could sum it up into anything, it's relief. It's relief from the world. It's understanding that you can explain what's going on, but you understand. And that's what the Bible, the New Testament, bears witness to. All the things that are happening around you. You'll notice things. You'll notice that these Pharisees are just like the people today. Human beings never change. As you probably well know. Not one, not even a little. The atmosphere changes. The goals change. That's why it's the same old thing. Every war is the same. It starts on a pretense that really doesn't call for war, but that's how they start. Things of this nature. Humans just don't change. Greediness, sexual desires. But Jesus is saying, look, you people that thirst, if anyone is thirsty, let him come to me and drink. He who believes in me, as the scripture said, from his innermost being will flow rivers of living water. But this he spoke of the Spirit, whom those who believed in him were to receive, for the Spirit was not yet given because Jesus was not yet glorified. And we do get to that later. But this ties back into, this is Jesus reiterating, look, what I am saying is bread. What I am saying is water. He's making all these analogies. And we turn them into holy things, but really he's just using analogies, just like the fig tree. Just, when it gets fruit on it, it's summer, right? When that process is happening. You need to eat my flesh. You need to drink my blood. They're just analogies. The same thing here. But what he is saying is what is authorized. And it's funny, God sends him down here, even today. Let's take today. Forget back then, but even today. They sent the guy down here to tell him all this stuff, and no one pays attention to what's being said. Now, how can you call yourself a Christian? Let's just start with that. But everyone would agree that a Christian is a disciple of Christ. How can you be a disciple of Christ if you yourself are not asking him what he wants of you and then listening? You just take a right turn to your local church or your group, whatever it is, and say, oh, I like this. This works for me. What is this, Catholicism? I like it. This will work. And that's it. That's where you leave it. You're not anywhere near God. And the problem is that if you do to try to establish a relationship with that type of thought, it's not compatible. It's not compatible. It just doesn't work. Because you can't put anything between you and God. You have to go to God and he will show you. You can't go to your church and then go to God. It's just, there's no bridge there. Nothing. Here with the Pharisees, you have not also been led astray, have you? No one of the rulers of the Pharisees has believed in him, has he? But this crowd, which does not know the law, is accursed. And then we get Nicodemus again. He who came to him before being one of them said to them, our law does not judge a man unless it first hears from him and knows what he is doing. Does it? They answered him, you are not from Galilee also, are you? They're making fun of him. They're ridiculing him. Jesus does this as well in these chapters coming up. The part where he says, we'll get into it, but he's like, you're calling me God, but you guys call yourself gods all the time. So they're ridiculing him for not following the law, yet he knows the law better than they do, and they don't follow it, and they violate it all the time, and it just doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you say to these people, and that's how it is these days. It doesn't matter what you say to the people. It doesn't matter if you say, hey, this is what it says in Greek, and that's what it means, and that's what this means. They're not listening. But it's your job to listen. If you really are a disciple of Christ, you are to ask, what does John chapter 17, verse 21 mean? I don't know. Can you help me out? And you get an answer. And it's that simple. And you listen. That's how you learn. And it all stems from this. This applies to you as well. You get the words. You don't understand it. You go to God and you get an answer.